Hi there. I'm back to annoy you some more, or delight you some more, however you want to look at it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and yes, some of the content is even for the children, teenagers specifically. But we'll get back. We'll come to that in a little bit. I'm really tired of talking about gun control. I already did this not too long ago when I spoke about the shooting in Las Vegas, and the very first recording I ever did had to do with the Pulse shooting. But it looks like there's been another massive shooting that it's occurred last week, and so that is what everybody's talking about lately. And I tried to stay out of it, but I had to weigh in and share my thoughts, and I also want you to be privy to that as well. So what I was saying, and this is about the shooting in Parkland, Florida, which is close to Fort Lauderdale. And when I heard about this last week, I'm thinking, Parkland? I forgot the city even existed. But anyway, nice little suburb in northwest Broward County, which is where Fort Lauderdale is. And, everyone now is focusing on gun control again and blaming the guns. And they are giving this shooter a get out of jail free card. Everybody's so focused on the guns rather than the people holding them and using them. Okay, we should be outraged and angry with this person, okay, who has a mental illness, and that's a whole nother issue. Okay, I'm not trying to excuse this individual. I think he needs to be punished. I don't think the focus should be on the guns, because it is legal. There's a lot of law-abiding citizens who use them. There was a church shooting in Texas where 17 people were gunned down, ages like 5 to 70, 72 or something. And all these people were doing was worshiping God. That's all they were doing. And somebody came along and shot them. Someone in their 20s. And there was a good Samaritan in the neighborhood, which ran out into the street barefoot after he had grabbed his gun and exchanged gunfire with this guy. That took courage, because if it were me, I'd be hiding behind my couch shaking. All right, I don't think I'd want to run out into the street and try to face this guy. But that's what this guy did, and he had a gun. He was trained to use it. He shot the guy, flagged down someone else, got into this other person's truck, and these two guys drove after the guy who's trying to get away after he had been shot. So my point in bringing that up is, you can call the police after there's been a shooting or a threat of a shooting, and the cops are going to take on average about 5 minutes to get to you, right? And a lot can happen during that time. So part of the solution to dealing with a bad person with a gun, is having a good person with a gun. And I know we don't want to go back to the old days of the Wild Wild West, but I'm telling you, I'm just living in reality. And a lot of you people, I don't know what you want. What is it that you want? You're just regurgitating what you're hearing the talking heads say on the news. And there are people in the news, and I use the term loosely, that just want more gun regulations. And maybe we would benefit from that. I don't know. All I know is that we keep having layers upon layers upon layers added of gun regulations. There's a lot of it in Chicago, yet there's a lot of shootings there. And I hear there's also a lot of shootings in Baltimore. And those are areas that have a lot of gun control. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be any. We have to have it. But I'm telling you, that in and of itself is not the solution. Okay? And so that is where the focus is. And if you think that maybe we can just ban guns altogether and then the guns stop being manufactured, okay, fine. So no more new guns can be bought. But what about the 300 million guns that is already in private ownership? You know, what are you going to do? Break into people's homes and start trying to confiscate their guns? Okay, and I don't think there's any like national gun registry. I don't think we really know where all the guns are. So just let's be realistic. That will never happen. Now listen, if I could just snap my finger and make all the guns disappear, I would do it. I would do it. But even then, it's not the solution, okay? Because there are people that are going to get behind the wheel of a car and they're going to drive it into a crowd of people. Or they're just going to take a bomb and set it off in a crowd like they did at the Boston Marathon a few years ago, okay? Or they're just going to take a sword, or they're going to just whatever. When people want to kill, they always find a way to do it, all right? And that is because we have a lot of people with mental illnesses, all right? There was a lot of things, a lot that we have now found out about the shooter, a little too late, of course. Well, a lot that we're hearing about. These are things that were known about the shooter, and no one did anything, okay? And that's the problem, okay? It's not so much the guns. We got to be proactive, all right? I know we don't want to violate people's rights, okay? We're very sensitive to that. Our freedom is very important to us. Being able to come and go as we please is a freedom that a lot of us take for granted. But when we think about how it can be taken away from us, it's pretty scary. And that manifests itself in either being put in a mental hospital or being put in jail, okay? But when people are exhibiting signs of violent behavior, they got to be scrutinized, followed around, see if they do anything else that's unusual. And if you gotta lock them up for a day or two while you study them and make sure that they can be roaming in public, that's what you gotta do, you know. And also we gotta put guns back into these gun-free zones, because that is where a lot of the shootings are happening, in places where people can't have guns, because the perpetrator knows, the gunman knows, that if he goes there, no one's going to be able to fight back. Everybody's just going to run and hide. So they tend to go to places like that, all right? And so people need to be specially trained, and they need to be armed and put at these places where people assemble in masses, like in schools, especially in schools, okay? And the people that are licensed to carry the gun and it's part of their job, they probably need to be checked out periodically as well to make sure that they remain sane, all right? But, you know, I hate to harp on this. I feel like I've said this all before. Now, the latest thing that I'm hearing in the news is all these teenagers from Stoneman Douglas High School, where the shooting took place, are now protesting and blaming the president for what's happening. All right, that's just the headline. I haven't read the details, but let's just then focus on the headline. My question is, and maybe it's answered if I was to read further, but how is it the president's fault? I just, I don't really feel that I need to read further. I think the headline is all I need to hear, because I know the answer. It's not, okay? Because there's been a lot of shootings going on for the last few years, okay? When Pulse happened, Barack Obama was president, okay? And there was a renewed conversation about gun control. I'm not going to deny that. But nobody was blaming the president, because it wasn't the president's fault. And it's not the current president's fault either. All right? And if it is the current president's fault, then that's to say that he could do something about it. All right, well, if he could do something about it, so then could have President Obama. Why didn't he? Right? Why didn't he? Because the people have a constitutional right to bear arms. All right? Guns are not going to be taken away. All right? And if it's going to be taken away, it's going to have to be through a constitutional amendment. It's going to have to be by an act of Congress. Okay? So don't blame the president. All right? Because the president is in the executive branch. All he does is enforce the laws. All right? It's Congress who passes the laws. So if you have a problem with gun control and you think guns should be banned or there should be more regulations, then you need to be writing to your congressman. Okay? And then look at your congressman's voting record and see how he votes. All right? Because just because he voted the way you would want to vote if you yourself was in Congress casting that vote doesn't mean that change, the kind of change that you're looking for will happen. Okay? Because there's got to be a majority of congressmen who vote for that kind of change. All right, so what you need to do is talk to your friends in other districts, other cities, other states, and try to convince everybody that you're right and that guns should go away. All right, instead of blaming the president, who doesn't have anything to do with it. Now I know the argument is probably going to be that President Trump is making gun advocates confident that he is going to support their right. Okay? But he has to anyway. There's not much that he can do to change that. All right? So he's saying what is. All right? And I'm sure that bothers some people, but it wouldn't matter if he was Barack Obama, who was like everyone else, probably blaming guns and saying that we needed more regulations. And it was all lip service. He said it, but we still have these shootings. We still don't have this additional gun regulations that I guess everybody wants. I guess they want to now ban the AR-15 or whatever it is. It's some type of semi-automatic rifle, and it looks pretty scary. But it's actually supposedly not as dangerous as some other weapons. But I also want to talk about mental illness, more specifically bullying and stuff, because some of what I heard about this person is that he was rejected by his classmates. Now, growing up, I felt rejected, and I used to hang out with the misfits, the square pegs. I used to sit in the cafeteria with those people that nobody else would sit with. I hung out with them. Now I hear he wasn't even welcome with them because he was just that loony. All right, and maybe, and I think in his case, there was nothing any ordinary lay person could do. All right. But for other people that don't seem so psycho, that aren't so scary, but who probably can turn that way, we just need to take a little bit more time in getting to know one another and learn what our commonalities are instead of just looking at each other's differences and rejecting the person based on that. Because when people feel isolated and alone and rejected, some of them lose their mind, especially young impressionable people. So we all need to do our part. So just a little respect, a little kindness, a little understanding will go a very long way. All right. And if I'm talking to someone who's feeling a little violent, need to turn over a new leaf. Try to assimilate a little bit, you know. You'll eventually, you know, try to fit in, you know. Don't be so crazy, you know. And there's still going to be people that don't accept you. But if you act really far out and crazy, you know, it's your own fault that you're alone. Okay, and you know, I know we all are looking to find ourselves and be unique and be different and be controversial. Sometimes that manifests itself in very bizarre ways. And I'm telling you, you know, a lot of young people, you know, teenagers, you want to feel like you belong. But a lot of these people that you're growing up with, okay, you know, you want to be a part of that clique, and you know, you may never fit into that clique. You just got to find people that you do have things in common with, and hang with them, okay? And you know, later on in life, these people that you wanted so badly to hang with, you know, if you keep acting crazy and stuff, they're going to get on with their lives and lead successful lives, and you were so concerned about fitting in that you didn't really focus on what you need to focus on, and that is getting good grades and getting the hell out of that place and getting on with your life. All right, and you know, once you make it into the workplace, if you show up with, you know, holes all over your body, you're completely pierced, you look like a pin cushion, you know, or you got tattoos all over your body. I mean, that's graffiti, right? That's body vandalism. You know, who's going to hire you looking like that? I mean, you got to think about it. You know, you need money to buy all the things that you want, but you're not going to be able to get a good job. You're always going to end up working as a fry cook or rounding up shopping carts at a grocery store. All right, so, you know, all I can say is, and you know, I've talked about bullying before, is just hang in there. It does get better, but, you know, if you're going to do something drastic to get people's attention, you're just going to end up in prison or dead. All right. So, thanks again for hearing me out, and I'm sorry if I sound like a scratch record, but like I said, this is just stuff that's just dominating the news right now, so what better to talk about? All right, so I do have a few points that I wanted to go over, and I think I pretty much hit on all of them. So thank you for your time, and be kind and be good to one another.